Hey there, Gacha Gang, Kawaii50 here with a fake Grand Order video that's a little more important today than it would be at pretty much any other time. This man's recent third rank up has been making huge waves in the community, so it's about time we pulled the band-aid off and talked about this fan favorite assassin. The legend himself, if you know, you know. That is Sasaki Kojirou. Command cards, stats, command codes, everything you need to know, craft essences, allies, the whole shebang. We're talking about all of that when it comes to this samurai who has carried so many fake Grand Order faithful through the early game. This man was my first 10-10-10 NP5 max ascension, so it's about time he went and got some love. This video helps you out, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Kojirou runs an incredibly quick heavy deck with 3 quick cards, 1 arts card, a buster card, and a quick type noble Phantasm. Predictively, for a 1-star release at the beginning of the game, a lot of things related to his base stats end up being quite low. This ranges from the hit counts on all of his cards to his max attack and max HP stat, sitting at 5,735 and 6,220 respectively. Now, this noticeably goes up in the event that you grail him, which I would say if you really want to use Sasaki Kojirou, doing that to shore up his stats is pretty much a necessity. This isn't like a Rash, where his Noble Phantasm is so insane you can get by with whatever. You need those stats to make him truly effective. His NP per hit is solid at a 1.05%, though due to the low counts on his cards, I wouldn't expect you to reliably be able to loop his Noble Phantasm. Star absorption is pretty much Saber tier though, so if you manage to generate stars between him and the other quick type characters on your team, he's gonna be able to eat those stars and use them for more powerful crits. Kojirou's first skill is his main survivability skill, Mind's Eye Fake rank A. This gives him 1 turn of evade and increases his critical strength by 20 to 40% for 3 turns. The fact that the critical strength lingers is nice, especially since most of Kojirou's damage is going to come from crits, though you will mainly be using this skill for its evade properties. Go ahead and max this skill second to help with Kojirou's survivability and to get that sweet 6-turn cooldown. And now we get into the upgrades, and this is the upgraded skill that prompted me to make this video today. Vitrify, rank A+, the upgraded version of this, removes debuffs from Sasaki Kojirou, and it grants him 5 to 15 critical stars, like it did normally. However, this also applies a buff to Kojirou. He decreases the quick card resist of his enemy by 10% for 3 turns when attacking with his quick cards. Since he has a 3 quick card deck and a quick type Noble Phantasm, which is his primary source of damage, I'm sure you can understand how this buff can get out of hand very, very quickly. This is an incredibly powerful skill when it comes to helping Sasaki Kojirou become a soloing monster. However, on NA, this isn't predicted until April of 2023, so for now, if you're still maxing out his skills, go ahead and wait on this last. Kojirou's third skill is easily his most useful one, and that is Knowledge of the Soa rank B++. This gives him 3 turns of sure hit, allowing him to completely ignore the evade stat on enemies, and also increases his star drop rate by 30 to 90%, and increases his critical star gather rate by 200 to 500% for 3 turns, and this is on a 5-turn cooldown. The very, very low cooldown on this skill is an incredibly powerful boon. Being able to basically keep sure hit and those star boosts up all the time make it just as powerful as his previous Vitrify skill. I'm sure you saw when we looked at that graphic. That's on a 4-turn cooldown, giving him tons of chances to reduce the enemy's quick card resist and to have an increased star drop rate and star gather rate from Knowledge of the Soa to deal massive amounts of critical damage. Definitely max this skill first before you end up upgrading Kojirou's second skill. This is going to be your main source of crits. You need it up as much as possible. Kojirou's upgraded Noble Phantasm is Tsubame Gaishi. This deals 1,600 to 2,400 100% damage to a single enemy, and with him being a 1-star servant, you've got this at NP5. This also increases Kojirou's quick card effectiveness by 20% for 3 turns, and it activates before damage is dealt, like all good Noble Phantasm boosts do. So you're going to be able to boost Kojirou's quick card damage to shred through your already quick resist weakened enemy. And on Overcharge, this Noble Phantasm grants a large base amount of critical stars, 15 to 35 depending on the level of Overcharge, but even if you just get it to 300%, that's 25 stars. You're probably using a quick chain. You're gonna have 100% crit chance on all your cards after this is used. Really, this is a very good single target Noble Phantasm. When it comes to Sasaki Kojirou's allies, of course, with his heavily quick stack deck, you want to pair him with a supporter like Skahawk Scotty. Of course, if you're looking for a less expensive person to pair with, Wuzei Shan is there, as is the ever-reliable Helena Blavatsky. But who can you pair Sasaki Kojirou with besides your typical quick type supports? For the next ally section of this video, I really focused on characters who could also give quick resist down. Characters that are able to give the quick resist down debuff onto your enemy, which is a stackable debuff, by the way, means you can really ramp up Sasaki Kojirou's single target damage. And in a lot of cases, if you have a very offensive quick type team, you have the potential to shred through bosses and challenge quest enemies like they are made of the most thinly sliced paper. Something we all know Sasaki Kojirou could easily destroy. Of course, let's start with our freebie option, and that is Gray, who should be arriving on the NA server very close to after this video launches. The main reason I am selecting Gray is because of her Noble Phantasm Rongo Miniad Gray. This has the overcharge bonus of decreasing quick resist for all enemies for 3 turns. So if you go ahead and use this before Sasaki Kojirou's Noble Phantasm, which grants him a boost to his quick card type Noble Phantasm, you are going to see not only a bunch of stars refunded for a following turn of some crazy critical damage, but the Noble Phantasm itself is going to do more damage well, because the enemy's quick resist has gone down. That is phenomenal. Also, on top of that, Gray herself is an assassin. If you are taking Sasaki Kojirou as your main damage dealer, odds are Gray's going to be super effective against whoever you're fighting as well. Assassin Ushiwakamaru fills much of the same role, with her AoE Noble Phantasm also decreasing the quick resistance of all enemies. But on top of that, her Noble Phantasm Tengu's Fan also removes the offensive buffs for all enemies as well. Considering Sasaki Kojirou naturally has a very, very low HP pool, anything you can do to keep the enemy from buffing themselves up to deal him a one-hit KO is going to be very helpful. Now, these next 3 servants are pretty far out on NA, but I know JP is going to be very, very supportive of me including them. And also, this just goes around to future-proofing this video for NA, so when you're watching this in the future, after Kojirou gets his buff, you'll have some good ideas for some very expensive servers to pair him with. And we're going to start this off with Voyager. Voyager, a truly fantastic servant, has his Swing By rank A ability, which increases his quick card effectiveness, but also decreases the quick resistance of a single enemy for 3 turns. With this stacking, you're going to be able to pump up both Kojirou and Voyager's damage. On top of that, Voyager also has a skill called Blessings from the End of the World Cosmos. This increases the critical star gather rate for an ally and increases the critical strength and critical rate resist of all allies. So this is a great way to funnel your stars directly to Sasaki Kojirou in the event Knowledge of the Soa is on cooldown. The powerful foreigner type servant Van Gogh needs mention as well. Van Gogh's Noble Phantasm is a very, very powerful addition to your arsenal, being able to give your enemies the terror status and increase the critical strength of all of your allies by 50 to 100%. You're going to be regenerating stars every turn, and your allies are also going to get an attack boost based on overcharge. helping Sasaki Kojirou's very, very low stats. On top of that, 2 of Van Gogh's abilities are very powerful supporters for Sasaki Kojirou. The Yellow House will decrease the quick resist of all enemies by 20% for 3 turns, and give Sasaki Kojirou a restore HP and evade as well at the cost of a curse. Beacon Soul Rank EX is another powerful supportive ability which can increase Kojirou's attack and critical star gather rate too. There are just a ton of supportive abilities for Van Gogh that you're not really going to have to worry about the fact that Van Gogh is only dealing neutral damage. You can use Van Gogh as a sort of pseudo-support, and it'll all work out. And finally, let's give an excellent shout out to Karen Hortensia. Karen's Noble Phantasm, much like Ushiwakamaru and Grey before her, deals damage to all enemies and decreases their quick resist by 20% for 3 turns. This Noble Phantasm also nullifies an enemy's buffs, so if an enemy tries to cast an invincibility or something like that, Kojirou is not going to have to worry about that. Karen is also a very powerful tank-type servant, able to draw enemies towards her on very, very dangerous turns, and able to give herself invincibility at the cost of a little bit of her allies' NP gauge. But she can also give her allies invincibility and NP gain on top of that, so this can help Kojirou get closer to attempting to loop his Noble Phantasm as a result of his card's low hit counts. You got the NP gain to boost it, that can definitely help. When it comes to selecting craft essences for Sasaki Kojirou, you want to focus on, of course, playing to his massively stacked quick card deck strengths and look for quick card effectiveness. Since Tsubame Gaishi is going to be the main source of his damage, Noble Phantasm Strength is a great pick as well. And for your third option, well, critical strength never hurts, since he has a solid star weight to start with, and the ability to increase that with his own skill. Being able to up that critical damage is going to help with Kojirou's relatively low attack stat. For our first freebie option, let's go ahead and take a peek at 3 Anglers. This grants quick card effectiveness, NP strength, and critical strength, all 3 of the things I just mentioned for Sasaki Kojirou. With an increase of 15% for all of these, you should see Kojirou's net damage go up exponentially with this craft essence attached. If only it granted a little bit of base attack as the main stat, but max HP doesn't hurt either. Kojirou's got a low HP pool too. You also may find yourself gravitating towards Decapitating Bunny when it comes to using Kojirou as your main damage dealer for challenge quests. Giving Kojirou permanent ignore invincibility is very, very powerful. He pretty much won't have to worry about any of your opponent's measly attempts to avoid his washing pole style sword. He is going to slice right through them no matter what. If you're looking to focus purely on NP damage, I've got to go ahead and recommend Dumplings over Flowers. The NP damage and quick card effectiveness boosts are going to make your Tsubame Gaishi hit really, really hard. Though, when it comes between this and 3 Anglers, well, if you've got a maxed out 3 Anglers versus a normal Dumplings over Flowers, the maxed out 3 Anglers is going to be the better pick. And if you're looking for starting NP gauge, maybe use your Skahawk Scotty to turn 1 Noble Phantasm, I've got to recommend Princess's Pilgrimage. If you manage to have this craft essence max limit broken, you're getting quick card effectiveness, critical strength, and a starting 50% NP gauge steroid. With a maxed out secondary Scotty skill, that is a turn 1 Noble Phantasm. Even if you don't have this craft essence maxed out though, you can still use Mystic Codes to make up for that little 10% gap. Kojirou's command code selection is very, very simple. You can go ahead and sacrifice a card for Noble Phantasm damage if you want, but if not, you are perfectly fine with going full on into critical damage for this madman to try and boost his lowered attack stat. Da Vinci Chan is my recommendation if you want to focus a little bit about Noble Phantasm damage, and this recommendation would not have come along if it wasn't for the update to his second skill. Since you have to use the card Da Vinci Chan is attached to before you use the Noble Phantasm to get the effect, well, if you went ahead and used Vitrify, that is going to be a quick resist down already. So if you have this attached to a quick card to grant that quick resist down, you follow up with a powered up Noble Phantasm and deal additional damage to your target. And why are we focused on critical damage over critical star drop rate for Kojirou? It all comes down to his low hit counts. Low hit counts means lower opportunities to generate stars. Honestly, most of your stars are gonna probably be coming from Tsubame Gaishi. So instead, let's go ahead and focus on upping Kojirou's damage to help his relatively low attack stat. So look for things like Command Seal of a Cardinal-Minded Retainer for his Buster card, Immature Illusionary Command Seal for his Arts card, or of course the non-existent Phantasmal Horse for one of his quick cards. For the rest of the cards, you can go with pretty much anything else that increases critical damage. The freebie lovers out there are going to want to just load up Kojirou with Code Burst. Overall, gang, as Fate Grand Order has marched ever onward, the people at Delightworks have tried to do what they can to try and show us that Sasaki Kojirou is definitely more than a match for Miyamoto Musashi. And honestly, with this recent update, it's working. It really, really is. With the quick resist down debuff he is able to apply, with the ability to draw stars to himself when he needs it most, with a little bit of a survivability tool, and with probably one of the most powerful Noble Phantasms for a low star rarity servant in a game, save Arash and Shen Gong, but they're not single target. They are not single target, my friends. Sasaki Kojirou is a challenge quest designed low rarity monster that is very, very easy for absolutely anybody to invest in. If you have some grails lying around and you're on the fence about the legend himself, well, don't fret. You can sink those grails into him and bump up his stats, and you will have a very, very powerful single target assassin who is more than a match for Miyamoto Musashi. But I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts about Sasaki Kojirou down in the comment section below. Do you think he is still the best one-star servant in the game, or does that honor go to Arash for his farming potential? Do you agree with his upgrade, or do you think somebody else deserved it, like say a certain one-star dancer assassin we all know needs an upgrade herself? And if you've already grailed and been using Sasaki Kojirou before he got this upgrade, well, go ahead and share some stories down in the comment section as well. As somebody who had Sasaki Kojirou as the first servant he maxed out, I would love to hear all of your tales about how this samurai has served you well. This is Kawaii50. Again, thank you to all the patrons out there. If you want to talk some FGO, you can check out the Discord server, and we play a lot of games on the Twitch too. You can find all that in the description below. Have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you in the next one.